One was the MEAA, the Media, Entertainment and Artists Alliance. Thank you. So they're the union that quote represents Australia's creative professionals working across the arts, entertainment, sports, outdoor music, and events industry. Really behind the scenes and on.
They already represent workers engaged in various forms of project-based work. So because their membership profile is huge, it includes people like engineers, hairdressers, consultants, and pharmacists.
And interpretation candidates.
Okay, interpreters and great. They're really good on the interpreters and exact to our interpreters and translators. Thank you. What was also interesting about this particular moment and sort of Kismet being part of it is Professionals Australia, which I will refer to as PA, was also actively campaigning against poor working conditions in tech, having attended and signed up workers at the 2018 Google walkout. So the tech sector in Sydney. So the tech sector was already on their radar. So I guess where I'm going to leave it is that the industrial relations framework of Australia gave a lot more power to the union to determine whether and how they wanted to dance, as we could say, with the Game Workers Unite movement, because, you know, this is the structural power of centralized bargaining and how the system works. Although I would say that because of the union approach to GWU, that we perhaps have ended up in a not dissimilar situation to the communication workers, the CWA locals, and certainly in Toronto. And on that note, I am now going to hand over the good bits to Sarah.
Yeah, so hi, I am Sarah. I'm the co-convener of Game Workers Australia, which is purely a volunteer role. So I do also work full-time in the games industry as a QA analyst, though I currently have a 4-day work week, which is really great for union work. Yeah, so as Amanda said, we partnered with Professionals Australia to become an official trade union. So we our movement started with Game Workers Unite as well, as an underground kind of grassroots movement. And then when looking at how do we actually become an official trade union in Australia, the easiest thing to do was to partner with an existing union. You can form a new one, but it's very intensive. You have to get a lot of people to sign up, and we knew we weren't going to be able to do that too quickly. So we also partnered with Professional Australia because they gave us the better deal. So we were negotiating with both the Media Alliance and also Professionals Australia to see who we wanted to go with, and Professionals Australia gave us the better deal. I think lower member fees as well, a few other things. So we partnered with them. So I've been in my position for about a year. Previously, I was one of the first elected workplace delegates, which is basically your union rep in your workplace that communicates directly between the workers, the workplace, and the union officials. I was the second ever in Australia elected, which is pretty cool. That workplace is now the highest member coverage in Australia as well. So we have the most members at that workplace. I don't work there anymore, but I left for a better company that also no longer exists. Gameswork is like that. So I think I'll go over practically like how do we work, what do we do, how do we operate. So we have Professionals Australia as the actual trade union. They have our lawyers, they have our officials with a lot of organizing experience. I actually checked how long Professionals Australia has been around for. They were formed in 1917. They have existed for a very, very long time. They have a lot of really good experience, but they also have a lot of bureaucracy that does slow us down at times. So we kind of fight things on two fronts. Professionals Australia, or PA, I should say, that is a lot shorter. PA hold our membership, so we all pay dues. We pay monthly member fees or yearly member fees to them, and they provide us all those services and protections that come with having a union. And then Game Workers Australia, my side of things, I'm on the ground doing the community organizing, telling people the union exists, who to talk to, what a union is, doing that education. And we also run a free Discord server that we invite pretty much anyone into so they have access to the resources without having to pay for anything, and also just to start that education. Recently, we had Melbourne International Games Week, which is sort of our big Australian conference week, where we ran a networking event that was successful. We had people showing up. We were really present and visible, and our presence has become a lot more legitimate culturally in the Australian industry. So we sort of, that grassroots kind of foundation, people weren't sure what we were. They didn't really see us as legitimate, but now we are very legitimate. We're an official trade union. We've won court cases. We've made significant impacts in the industry. Most recently, I signed a new employment contract that actually, for the first time, stated the Professionals Award within my contract, which is like a massive achievement. I hadn't had that previously. So that kind of gives me those official protections. I also work specifically in quality assurance, which is in that gray area of, do I fall under that Professionals Award? Do I not? But at the very least, in this circumstance, it's in my contract, so I'm all good. I'm protected like that, which is great. Oh, we can point it down like this. Is that what you're trying to do? That is that one. Yeah, so I'm going to go over some of the stuff we've done or like succeeded in. I've got some slides from a presentation I did about a year ago that has some really useful data in it once we get the tech things sorted. But yeah, we've really grown our membership significantly.
Can I just say that
Yeah.
you guys were formed in 2022,
Yes.
right? So like this is an incredibly short period.
Yeah, so 2022, we became an official trade union, and then I think for a while before that, since the 2018 GDC, we had people kind of background organizing. But then, yeah, 2022, we became an official trade union, and we now have, I don't have the numbers for how many paying members we have. Our Discord server has about 500 people in it, and considering there's like 2,500 employee or workers in the industry, that's pretty significant. And I know our membership is doing well. So with Professionals Australia, in the last 12 months, they've seen their IT and game workers numbers increase dramatically. Similar to the rest of the world, we have faced a lot of layoffs in the tech industry and the games industry. I myself was made redundant almost a year ago, and constantly, every other day, once a month, I would say, in the Discord, somebody's sending a message to say, hey, my company's just announced redundancies. I think I'm being laid off. How can you support? And we kind of start the process from there. Okay, cool. I'll go through the rest of this very quickly. I could talk about all this for a very, very long time. You're always welcome to come chat. So these slides are quite old, so I'm going to skip through a little bit of it. So some of the things we've done. In 2022, we became an official trade union. So last year, we had about 10% of developers being paid members. I'm very confident that number has increased significantly since then, mostly because of all of the layoffs and other issues people had faced. And in May of 2023, we actually went to Australian Parliament. That's where our federal government is. And our representatives there, Mays and Mitch, got to speak directly to members of government about different issues that game workers were facing. This contributed to the legislation that was passed recently called the Right to Disconnect. So it's now Australian law that employees have a right to disconnect from their employers. There's complicated details. Amanda probably knows more about it than I do, but we're doing good things. We're contributing. The data on here is not a lot of data, especially as academics, you're probably being like, small numbers. But this is a survey that we run for income. So because we're connected to the IT union, we were looking comparatively at game workers' income versus IT workers' income, especially because we're under the same award. So our rates of pay should be similar. But as you can see, we're paid significantly less. In Australia, game wages are fairly low. Which is challenging. And then also we looked at, as Amanda said in the award, there are different levels, and they look at how much you're paid depending on what level you're at. And a lot of game workers work at a high level, but are often paid significantly less. So, in certain circumstances could, technically go to the government and win a case against their employers to get paid more, but that hasn't happened yet. We also looked at gender. Gender is a big thing in the Australian games industry. I myself identify as non-binary, and we have a very gender diverse industry. I think I was one of like the 3 people in that gender diverse category there. So, not really statistically significant information, but it's clear that women are underpaid in the games industry, which is not really surprising. We also contributed to overtime clauses that have overtime clauses that are now in our award. The tricky thing is that if you're paid 25% above the minimum, you can do any amount of overtime. But if you're not in that coverage, then there's actually very strict rules around it. There's also penalty rates for working weekends, public holidays, and past 10 p.m., I believe. But again, only if you're paid like around that minimum level. And that's pretty much it from me. Our main focus for the future is working on collective bargaining. So in Australia, we have collective bargaining agreements. We also recently introduced laws around multi-workplace bargaining agreements. So at our small studios, we could have one agreement that would apply to multiple studios. So we're focusing on that, and then also bargaining agreements at our larger companies, again, those 200 employees. That's sort of our main focus the next 12 months. We came extremely close to actually getting one happening, and then the company scared a lot of people out of it. So all we need to do that is we need to get 50% plus one of the employees to sign a petition. They take that to the Fair Work Commission, who are the government overseers of employment law. And the company has to bargain with the employees. They are forced to. There's a timeline established with that bargaining. We were talking about how there were some university bargaining agreements that are 3 months in the making. And it's complicated. Years in the making. Yeah, years. It's a complicated system. It's not perfect, but that's our current goal, is to get some of those agreements to happen. The best part about them as well is that they have to be better than your award. They can't be worse off. You have to be better off than what's already there. And also, because there's this confusion around the award applying to whether it applies to artists and animators or not, bargaining agreements would kind of reduce. You don't need to worry about the award if you're under a bargaining agreement, because it's going to establish all those rules for every discipline. And I think I'm done. Great. Thank you.